How can Batman discover the person behind the entire Batman Eternal situation when he's lost his resources, weapons, gadgets, and money? Welcome to the Complete Story Series, where we take trade paperbacks and single issues and we break them down into digestible bites so that we can read it dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. Don't forget to support the great industry that brings us these great stories by shopping for them at your local comic book store or shopping for them online. Now, when we last left off, Batman had lost it all, and he thought it was Hush behind this entire plot, but he discovered it wasn't. Who could possibly be so insane that they could actually get rid of Batman, Gordon, and almost all of Gotham? Well, there's one person I think you think it is because I'm wearing this shirt, but it's not the Joker. But if you do like the Joker, go ahead and go to jackofalltradesclothing.com by clicking the link down below to go to the Joker collection to find all of their Joker shirts and pop in the code JOKER20 to get yourself 20% off of your entire order right there. Jack of All Trades Clothing is the sponsor for this series, and if you want to support us, then you'll go down there and pick up shirts just like this one. Now, let's go ahead and discover how Batman's going to find the man behind the entire plot.
Bruce Wayne meets with Lucius Fox in a random cafe in the middle of Gotham. "How bad is it, Lucius?" he asks. "I think you should cancel your next few ski trips, Mr. Wayne. All of your holdings have been seized. They even took Wayne Manor and turned it into a temporary holding facility for Arkham inmates. You are basically broke. Lucius, I need to know the status on the remnants of the R&D department in Batman Incorporated." The commissioner raided all of them. They have everything. Lucius then picks up the tab, and Bruce calls up Julia to check on things in the Batcave. She says that the concrete slabs are holding, and that none of the nut jobs should be getting into the cave. She then looks over at Hush, who's all locked up in a cell in the cave. As Lucius leaves the table, he warns Bruce of one more thing. "Let Batman know, Commissioner Bard also has me." That night, Bard is setting everything up. He has his trap prepared. It's time for the police to bring down Batman. He blows up 2 buildings that are literally just being blown up to draw out Batman. And then he looks down at Lucius Fox. "You'll let me know when he enters Gotham, right?" While across Gotham, Batman is racing into the city with Penny 2 in his ear. "You know this is a trap, right, Batman?" "Yes, Penny 2, but sometimes you need to prove someone doesn't have all of the cards by heading into their trap. But what about someone that does have all the cards?" Just then, Jason Bard interrupts their call with his own. "Batman, this is the GCPD. Pull over now." But obviously, Batman ignores him. So Bard tells Lucius to lock down any systems that they can control on the Batmobile. "Oh, and Batman, remember that Wayne Tech ultra heated wire mesh that your friend claims you couldn't get into your Batmobile without damaging it? I hope he wasn't lying." And at that moment, the ultra heated wire mesh expands in front of the Batmobile, shredding the armor in the front side of it. "Shut the hell up!" They then eject the core that Batman uses to protect the systems of the Batmobile, and they gain full control of the Batmobile. "Are you ready to surrender, Batman?" "Let me think on that." "That's too bad." "What are you doing?" "I have control of your fancy Batmobile. You're like my little RC car. Hit the brakes and put on your fancy bat cuffs and we'll end this." "No!" Bard looks over at Lucius. "Hit the bat jets." "You could kill him!" So Bard walks over and hits it himself, forcing Batman to launch the jet propulsion system and go over the edge of one of the tallest bridges in Gotham. Batman goes crashing through the Wayne Enterprises building, driving through it. And then he realizes he only has so many buildings that he can drive through until he'll run out of buildings and come crashing down to the streets below. So he calls up Penny 2. "I need your help. They have control of the Batmobile, and the cockpit has been wielded shut by the wire mesh." But just as he's calling her, the Batmobile hits the end of the road, and it begins to plummet down into the streets. Penny 2 panics, trying to think of an answer. Anything! Alfred would have figured this out already. And then she thinks, "Blue Rose." And boom! The Batmobile explodes as it hits the pavement. Bard pats himself on the back and leaves the cleanup job to the rest of the GCPD. While this was going on, Vicky Vale went on a mission of her own to discover who Bard is. What she found is that he was a normal cop with a partner, and due to a bad vigilante that was a kid, there was a bloodbath and his partner didn't survive. After that, he blamed people like Commissioner Gordon for allowing vigilantes like Batman to exist, leading to kids trying to be just like him. And that's when a doctor by the name of Thomas Elliot approached him. Vicky then called Bard to call him out and tell him that he was just too pathetic for her. But at the moment that Bard is answering the phone call, Batman sucker punches Bard. How? There was a safety protocol to get me out of the undercarriage. If it hadn't worked, I had 6 more ways out of the car. This is what you don't understand, Jason. I thought Hush had a gun to your head, But your men died. You put them there and they died. You have no regard for human life. Don't you dare! I'm doing this with the woman I love. The one that I lost to idiots trying to be you. There wasn't a single life lost for what I did. 3 stabbings, 8 shootings, and a young woman beaten to death by a mugging. All because the officers were busy trying to clean up the Batmobile. I'm sorry for your partner all of those years ago, but the deaths tonight are on you. Then Batman turns and walks away. Stop! Put your hands up, Bart says. I don't think he will, Batgirl says as she appears with both Red Robin and Red Hood. And then, with a little smoke, they all leave to go back to the Batcave, where they all welcome each other back home. Tim tells Batman that they only need to stop Bard and this will be over. But Batman informs him that Hush wasn't behind this, neither is Bard. Someone is still trying to get the nanotech virus out there, the one that infected Harper Rowe's brother. And someone hired Falsario to use mind control on Gordon. And someone else was behind the destruction of Arkham Asylum, forcing them to turn Wayne Manor into a holding cell. Who is the man behind the entire plan, not just another one of the pawns? But while Batman is trying to figure it all out, so is the Riddler. And he thinks it's time that he helps Batman out just a little. Batman should have had this already. Meanwhile, across Gotham, Catwoman is starting to get used to her new job as a mob boss. If only assassins would stop trying to kill her. So she suits up and she meets up with Croc to offer him a chance for revenge. Meanwhile, the worst of Gotham's villains are forming up thanks to Scarecrow. It turns out that he isn't as dead as everyone thought he was. Since he traded his soul to Hell, he feels that he should get to lead this new band of Batman villains. While it does take some convincing, he does get everyone to at least temporarily listen to him. Selina turns on the bat signal and she calls on Batman. And at first he doesn't want to hear it. She sided with the gang, her gang, and once she did that, she became his enemy. So she tells him that they don't need to end it like this, and to make it up to him, she has all of Arkham's worst just waiting for him. Batman arrives at the location and he makes short work of every single one of Arkham's inmates. They never were a true problem for him, and it was made even easier by Selina's plan. You see, she arranged for Poison Ivy and Croc to work against Scarecrow, Freeze, Bane, and Clayface, then informed Batman of their location so that he could capture them all because she wanted to remove the freaks so that she could place her own individuals into their places. In her own words, it's time for Gotham to go back to its rightful masters. Meanwhile, across Gotham at Blackgate Gen Pop, Jim Gordon is getting a visitor. Jason Bard is there explaining the whole situation to him, that he was convinced to go along, and because of him, Gotham has become a war zone. Then because of him, Batman and his allies are hiding out instead of saving Gotham. He wants to fix this, he wants to make it right. But no one will listen to him any longer. He has no allies of his own. And Gordon tells him that he did the right thing by coming to him. Now the first thing that they need to do to fix this is get Gordon out of Blackgate, but do it by the book. Our villains aren't gone yet though. They're being hauled off to Blackgate, and the SWAT van carrying them takes a detour. As the back door opens, the guards inside find themselves being shot up by other SWAT guards. They are then escorted to a room where Cluemaster and his D-list supervillains are also being escorted, and Catwoman has been invited by invitation. Inside, a voice comes over a loudspeaker and it explains that they are now in a room with all of Bruce Wayne's seized Batman weapons and his money, and they're allowed to take it as long as they go to town on Gotham. While this is happening, Batman has gone to Riddler's location, high in the mountains. The Riddler left a clue all the way back in Arkham that he knows who is behind all of this, and Batman needs to know. So he accomplishes a simple riddle, and then he begins to throw Riddler around. He's exhausted, mentally and physically, and half mad as the Riddler puts it. Batman doesn't have time for games anymore. What's going on? You claim you know who is behind this? Now tell me, Riddler! But just then, as Batman is getting ready to bring the Riddler back to Gotham, explosions go off around them, creating an avalanche. The two men quickly become buried in the snow, but Batman knew what to do, and he's currently encased in the snow. He calls up Penny 2 to tell her what happened, but that he's a little preoccupied trying to get out. He'll be fine, but this is gonna take some time. While this is going on, all of the criminals are loading up on Batman's toys and his money, while Catwoman tells them that this isn't her style. She's out. She tells the punks here that this is pointless. She isn't going to listen to a mystery voice, and while they've been waiting for a payday like this, she's been making her own. She made her own life. She edged her way out of the Gotham Underground. And that's when the crooks decide Catwoman isn't with them. She's against them. And Firefly blows up her car. Back with Batman in the snow, he finally drags himself out and he grabs the Riddler. I'm taking you back to Gotham. But the Riddler pleads to not go back. We'll all die there, he says. So Batman asks him, who has you so scared? Don't be silly. I'm not scared. I'm being logical. When suddenly the ground beneath them gives way and both men fall down the cliff and into more snow. At the bottom, the Riddler gets up and he tries to run again, but Batman tells him, "Stop running!" And that's when the Batjet rises up from the snow, which was conveniently right beneath the Riddler. "We're going back to Gotham, Riddler." "You'll never make me talk. I only led you here to make you think for yourself." Catwoman, of course, walks out of the warehouse unscathed. She knew to jump away, and she leaves the building telling Croc, one of her henchmen, this is gonna be bad. Meanwhile, Red Robin and Harper Row are hard at work on the location of the nanotech virus. Tim has been working on it since the beginning of this insanity, and he hasn't gotten any closer to figuring it out. It's a virus that's taking over the children of Gotham, and Harper Row's brother Cullen is included in this mass. It takes over their bodies and it turns them into drones for the virus, kinda like zombies. Well, Tim and Harper have tracked it down to a warehouse, where the droned people are building something. Spoiler, on the other hand, is still battling against everyone trying to take her in for her bounty. But as she begins to fight this new individual telling him that she's already dropped 6 lowlifes, he explains that he was hired to protect her, not take her in for the bounty, and he knocks her unconscious. Realizing that the nanotech virus situation is much worse than he originally thought, Tim calls for help from Red Hood, aka Jason Todd, and Batgirl. "You want me to shoot a bunch of kids?" Jason asks. "No, what? That's not at all what I said," Tim tells him. "Well, that's how it sounded to me," Jason says. "Typical," Batgirl says, shrugging off Jason's comment. Harper corrects Jason though. "We need you guys to clear out the nanotech zombies so that we can find the big boss man and shut this down." "Where's Batman?" Batgirl asks. "He's dealing with the Riddler, and I trust Harper," Tim tells her. "Fine, let me get my rubber bullets," Jason says, all sad. Tim and Batgirl jump in through the upper levels while Jason breaks down the front doors and he makes a mess, like he was supposed to. They quickly see that the nanotech zombies have been building a relay tower of sorts. Jason tries his best not to harm the kids while Batgirl is keeping things busy so Tim can jump up to the catwalk and discover the mastermind behind all of this, the Mad Hatter. "You're the one behind all of this crazy tech?" Tim exclaims. "No, not behind. Oh, no, on top, where hats go. Gotham needs a new look, and I'm just the Hatter to give it to them. And leave it to you to find the creepiest way possible," Jason yells out. "Dr. Falsario had a knockoff of your technology. We thought he stole your inventions," Tim tells him. "You are correct, little bird. That horrible man only saw money in my work. But I do what I do to embrace the outcast, the sad, the lonely." The Hatter then hits a switch and things begin to get much worse inside of the warehouse, because he just took control of Jason. Batgirl realizes what's going on, that they are losing, and she yells at Tim to get out of the warehouse and save her and Jason, as she finds herself being turned into a nanotech zombie as well. But he can't get away fast enough, as the Hatter takes control of Tim as well, leaving Harper Row outside the building all by herself. She quickly escapes the area and goes back to her apartment. Harper is tired of being pushed to the side by all of these heroes. This is her brother, and she will help him. So she finally suits up as the newest superhero in Gotham, Bluebird. The Mad Hatter begins to march on Gotham with his nanotech zombie army in tow. But meanwhile, Spoiler wakes up with her outfit off in a nice and comfy bed, and her mother is standing in the doorway. This isn't good because her father is the Clue Master and her mother has been in on the plot to kill her this whole time. At least, that's what Stephanie thought. But as her mother tells her, she had no idea how far her father had gone, and if she did, she would have gotten Stephanie out of there sooner. Harper Row is now going by her superhero named Bluebird as she waits for the Mad Hatter to take most of his army out of the building. She then slips in to finish what Tim started. But it didn't take her long to find that there are still some nanotech zombies inside, and they definitely alerted the Hatter to her presence. He comes back in a hurry and begins to send zombies in to grab her, using Tim, Jason, and Batgirl to hold her down. He will infect her with the nanotech virus. But Bluebird is a tech girl, and she sees how he's controlling everything. It's all in the hat. So she takes a free moment to kick it off his head. Then using a gadget in her glove, she blows up everyone that's trying to hold her down, and she picks the hat up off the ground. There's a new Hatter in town. She walks over, overloading the relay and destroying all of the nanotech virus, finally. The Hatter looks on in shock as his entire plan was foiled by the new girl on the block. Harper then runs over to her brother and embraces him because it's finally over. And that's when Batman finally arrives to grab the Hatter and demand to know, "Why are you here, Hatter?" But the Hatter explains, he was invited like everyone else. He has no idea who did it. He only got the instructions on a card to make Gotham hate Batman. Frustrated as always, Batman explains that he was following some of the nanotech teenagers, which is how he found this place. And he asks Tim how he found it. Tim points to Bluebird. Her. We're gonna need to talk about that. And then Batman leaves. Meanwhile, back with Stephanie, she walks out to the kitchen to find that her mother is tied to a chair, and Catwoman is standing there. My, You are a difficult person to find. Lucky for me, I like a challenge. And that is where we leave this episode. We are finally coming to the end of this. We're wrapping up most of the plot lines, but we still have no idea who is behind the entire plot to take down Gotham and destroy Batman. Make sure you give this video a like to let us know if you enjoyed it, because it'll also let us know that you love these really long storylines that take multiple episodes. And don't forget about our Jack of All Trades clothing deal that we mentioned at the beginning of the video. All the information for that is in the description down below. I'm Benny for Comic Storian, and I will see you guys next time right here.